sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys, water down its roots with tea, and the sun will always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys, always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys, fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you will fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand. Defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
Well, I know I miss more than hit, with a face that was launched to sink, and I seldom feel the bright relief. It's been the worst day since yesterday. If there's one thing I have said, is that the dreams I once had now lay in bed. As the four winds blow my wits through the door, it's been the worst day since yesterday. Falling down to you, sweet ground, where the flowers they bloom. Well, it's there I'll be found. Hurry back to me, my wild calling. It's been the worst day since yesterday.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Hornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines, in occupied territories, west, southeast, east, and north. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, IndianaFreedomTalkRadio.com in memoriam, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultra-Net Hallmark and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon and evening to all our friends at all points of the compass and the clock. It is 5:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the bottom of Michigan. It is Thursday. It is the 2nd of July. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth Calendar. 2020 year of conflict, year of betrayal, the Dance of Swords. And so it begins, and we're going to be pretty busy. Battlefield America is developing, and rather fascinating, some of the stuff going on. Of course, Chelsea, Michigan, right now, we should have some field reports. We'll see what happens. Depends on how exciting things get and how busy. We're not that far away, let's just say around the corner, so to speak. And for everybody out there that is deployed, again, a reminder, keep all of your radio tech up and online, including the local CB net, because we are presently down in the basement, the 03 range for that, and also channel 17. So pay attention and utilize the comms only as absolutely needed. Otherwise, everybody's in SOP, standard operating procedure mode. With regard to deployment, we are hoping that if they start something, whoever the management is, we want them. If there's any problem, remember, it's the lieutenants and the middle people that will give us the ones that are paying them. That's the ones you want. So we're hunting right now. I've got a couple little drones in the air. There are camera units that are sending down. We're watching patterns of movement. And also, again, deployment with regard to personnel on the ground, cameras, not cell phones, camera for us that are kind of just out in the periphery. And we need to make sure we get all of those, too. So we've got everybody in a grid pattern, or what we call a checkerboard monitoring pattern right now. And that will proceed through the afternoon and into the evening. It is 5:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bottom of the state of Michigan, by the way. A couple things for those of you who didn't see some of the stuff going on out west in Utah, of course. Number of different actions out there, combination of armed population and, of course, the police and et cetera, facing off against Black Lives Matter and the Antifa communists. That's typical. We're going to see that escalate. We are into the 4th of July weekend. Anybody want? I know it's not first choice. You don't give a squat about, neither do I, about Google. But let me just read some of the things that Google is posting right now. And it's rather fascinating, although I think, oh, interesting. George and Martha Washington enslaved 300 people. Let's start with their name. This is, of course, from the Washington Post, and this is, of course, the beat the gong thing. Like, we didn't know this. And, by the way, under the 8 years of Obama, they didn't really make any effort to attack, which is really fascinating, any of the traditional characters of the deep history of the country. But, boy, all of a sudden, all these communists are showing their red and yellow colors appropriately, which is good. Let's see, how being bullied affects your adulthood. Oh, my goodness, the Poofta boys are having such a tough time. let's see, inside, look at Seattle's East Precinct. The cops are tearful because they're coming home. If you are tearful because a stinking regional office of the police state is, well, you're finally getting it back, well, piss on you. Another interesting thing, Natchez Police make arrest. Now, this is something I wanted to really kind of touch on in a general way, because here's another thing I haven't really mentioned, but I'll jog your memory. Back when about the time of Helter Skelter and all the rest of the really wretched communists, kicked in the United States back from the late 60s to the early and middle 70s. And, of course, they were still around, certainly today, from that period of time. They're now long in the tooth, and they have their replacement Fruit Loop, crazy as the day is long, nutcase replacements standing up. But one of the big things was going out and breaking up and busting up cemeteries. I mean, after all, the dead, not many people are out there guarding the cemeteries. So for the monkey-poking, backstabbing, typical communist pig, the filth, the excrement, Black Lives Matter turds, the monkey force, the crew of idiots and incompetents, attacking cemeteries is especially fun because not many people think, well, pretty well everybody leaves them alone. But that's not true. And in fact, what you're seeing now in this wave is right in line, and why I told you we're going to see the bombing phase. The Israeli Mossad, elements of the U.S. government, and their Chinese cooperatives will begin or will be working on bombing attacks inside the United States. Now, here's what's interesting. Natchez Police make arrest after $40,000 in damages done to Turning Angel Monument. Now, this monument was put in place over 100 years ago, etc., 112 years ago, as a matter of fact, when they pushed the statue off of its pedestal. And I mentioned before they're heading for the cemeteries, which is what we warned everybody about down in Hillsdale also. Sure enough, the messages we saw there are being expressed in other actions around the country now. So this is expected. They busted the wing on the angel. It's a very nicely sculpted monument. It was, of course, had been placed for, well, more than a century, and apparently the monument was there to commemorate 5 girls who were killed in a building explosion in 1908. The angel was found toppled off its pedestal with one of the wings broken. It's not the only attack like this. There's been a bunch of smashed, older, classic slab monuments. And repeat. This is happening. Now, this paralleled the bombing cycle. So we're on track with most everything except the first public announcement of the first series of bomb attack waves by the communists that will be taking place in country, inside the United States, okay? Something that everybody needs to be ready for. Anyway, for everybody out there, the monument attacks, which you've seen that are the public ones, there was a variation on those. Oh, it's interesting. Somebody even pointed out some of the Black Panthers are even saying, the original Black Panthers, who are still around, who didn't die from drug overdoses or, small arms fire from whatever in Homieville. They didn't see anything like this, for the most part, back when they were doing their thing. So, including burning down the town and everything else, which, not a surprise. I mean, this is where you've got the Jewish mob running the knuckle-dragging, shoe-size IQ, just an example of the man, keeping it down, BS. And, of course, they're stirring the pot. The monument attacks of this type, the only thing I can say is, if you shoot somebody in a cemetery, not many people are probably going to find him until the next day. So if you do find somebody desecrating the cemeteries or moving in and pissing with them, it's just start dumping small arms fire. Just make sure you don't hit the monuments. And it's like, I don't know. I have no clue. What were they doing there? Oh, wait a minute. Their fingerprints are all over that. They were busting up monuments, for family members. It could be anybody. Of course, now all the family members, since they're picking, older monuments, are long dead and gone for the most part. Maybe there's a present family member available. But it is kind of funny because you can put a bullet right up their arse and ain't nobody going to care about who's dead in the cemetery. In fact, most everybody have the same attitude. Good. They deserve that. But if you're looking for this story, by the way, it's WAPT.com. The title is Natchez Police Make Arrest After 40K in Damage Done to Turning Angel Monument. And we'll see if we can find out more. Oh, of course, it's a white punk. Austin Petty. Well, that's an intro. Okay. And so it's one of the Antifa, Fruit Loop, Shoe Size IQ, numbskulls. Natchez Police Department wants to dispel any rumors or social media posts that attempts to link this incident to any national protest movement or even suggest it was racially motivated. There is no evidence to support such statements. Yeah, right, blah, blah, blah. Shut up, idiots. God. It wasn't part of that. It just didn't know anything. They're making excuses for the pigs, the swine, the Yehudi trash, the filth, the excrement on the leftist side. And they're going to continue to do that, by the way. So, not a surprise. So anyway, most all of it is trying to angle you towards, you got to hate the founding fathers, you need to hate your country, blah, 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 blah. We love our country, and we understand the problem children in the system, and we certainly understand that we need to clean the system out. And the leftists and the monarchists are the problem, and they're both one and the same. That's why the Republicans aren't having too much of a problem riding with the commies right now. Anybody notice this? What have we said for years? There's not a dime's worth of difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. And whenever anything gets serious, the Republicans defecate their spine right out their bunghole like a meat xylophone. And they couldn't be found if your life depended on it, and half the time it does, because you should be standing together. But you'll be turning around and seeing nothing but the bottom of their tennis shoes and their elbows kicking as they part the grass and run like hell into the brush. That's what the Republicans are good for, cowardice. But it's a way to fill the line for a little bit, and you can even deceive the enemy. While the cowards are running, you hold your ground. The enemy it gets motivated, exposes itself, and you mow their ass down. You get rid of every last one of them. That's how it works. That's what you want to do. So, in a way, it's kind of cool to keep the Republicans as valuable fictions around to motivate the enemy towards being stupid enough to proceed, which is what we need to see happen. So, we're good there. Again, we've got the situation. Again, we'll find out whether or not they're even ambitious enough to, quote-unquote, employ, whatever they're going to do. It's Thursday. They've been doing these Black Lives Matter Antifa protests over in Chelsea, Michigan, which is like, really? More on that in a minute. By the way, this whole area, Dexter and Chelsea were also really big with parts of the Underground Railroad and all the old families that they're pissing at. And the people who've lived out here like all of their lives and their generation before that lives and the generation before that, they're all their lives. They were the ones that built all the tunnels in the area here and had the Underground Railroad going. Boy, they'll regret that now. They'll wish their great-great-grandparents never did that, or their grandparents never were involved in that. In fact, they might just kind of mention that to them when they show up at St. Peter's Gate. You know all that stupid stuff you did around the Civil War? Should never have done it. Should have just left the turds where they were. That would have been better. Because obviously, every chance these mouthy POSs get, they're pissing on everybody. So, you know what?
Right.
Freedom. Take it and embrace it. How's that sound? I hear a voice. Who do we have?
Hey, it's Darzak.
Hey.
Dan's still alive.
Yeah, there we go.
I heard that there was a great leftist monument toppled today.
Oh, that
First reports are out that they've eliminated the Chaz/Chop area up in
You mean,
Seattle.
yes, Chadistan, Chazistan, Chawankistan, Yobunka-Wunkistan, yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. The piece that, they're doing this piece now because we got to embrace the cops, who, by the way, didn't do jack squat. They followed the orders of the communists to back out and abandon everything, guys. That's what gets me about this. And, oh, look, they're back. Well, if they'd all had a spine and they'd all done their job, and that lesbian mayor they have in Seattle she thought it was okay as long as it wasn't her place. Remember, the only reason that any of this happened is because they got arrogant enough. They went over to the chief commie's house, the chief communist mayor of Seattle-stein, and guess what? She got all bent out of shape, and her panties got in a bunch. We got to go get rid of that now. Well, if you'd held your ground in the first place, you wouldn't have to retake real estate, right? So, yeah, Chadistana Zena Zabungawanga is no longer with us. But actually, did you see the Tucker Carlson spoof from last night?
No, I didn't, not yet. I've
For
been
all of you listening,
actively
it is
doing
kind of
things.
fun. Yeah, he's had this ongoing reporter who's there in Seattle Stein, and or Seattle Stan, take your pick. And what's fascinating is the guy's been treating it like, this fledgling nation. And unfortunately, now that this fledgling nation has been crushed, will we be taking in refugees? Where will they go? Maybe they can go to Portland. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm sure they're already headed that way, dudes. Come on, think about it. But on the other hand, the rest of Seattle is communist. I mean, all they had, like we said, was a little area where there was more pus that built up in one place where it was publicly obvious. That's the difference between Chattistan and Seattle, Seattle Stan. As far as there was just like a little surfeit, dot that was just a little more concentrated with all of the excrement and filth that they want to spread across the whole of the United States. But it wasn't as subtle.
Just a little taste of what's coming in the future if we don't put a stop to it.
Oh yeah, we got to finish this. This is not going any farther. We can't let it go any farther. It's going to have to be finished. In fact, whatever kicks it off, I don't care. Well, again, I'm not expecting World War III to start with Chelsea, Michigan. But the people of Chelsea that have businesses, and a lot of the people are just fed up, are over there right now. I want to say hi to the 17th Michigan Militia at Large Reconnaissance Group. You guys are there. Also, we have 2 medical detachments that are off to the west that are with one of the Jackson militias. It's an independent formation. I don't know what the designation is, but the guys were contacted by the Michigan Militia at Large. This is one of those groups that organized in the last month, and this is good practice for them. In fact, I'm finding ambulances today. I have found a fleet of ambulances at $1,000 a piece. They're all from one company that went out of business because of all things. Think about it, it's medical. But because of the corona beer virus BS and all the restrictions, it looks like 9 out of 10, one has an engine problem, but 9 out of the 10 for $1,000 a piece are fully functional, ready to go. In fact, the guy even has medical supplies. So as soon as we get back, what's going to happen, this group that right now is deployed, I've already been in touch with all of these units. We had a meeting this last weekend, and the objective is to immediately expand our medical fleet. So, and everybody goes, ambulances, what good would they do? Well, the ambulance isn't going to be an ambulance. We're using the ambulance as forward area medical posts. They're going to be designed to support 20, 30, 40, 50 casualties at least. And ambulances will be support pickup trucks or vans that initially will be, transporters for hauling in material, volume material for the medical post, basically like a forward aid station. So the ambulances are a pre-bulk deployment piece, but they're going to be used as literally for what they would be, say, in the field with an EMT. But we're going to be bringing them in one door, taking them out, bringing another person in, and then they're going to be evac'd out or moved to an area farther within our infrastructure once they've been initially treated for whatever it is we need to keep them stable. The ambulance itself is going to be a field platform. And then there'll be another support truck that'll be carrying volume items, including plasmas, bandages, stretchers. The idea is even the unit itself will be carrying 10 foldable stretchers instead of just one gurney. There'll be a medical gurney, but we're switching it to a surgical gurney. So that's what's going to be in the center of the ambulance. That'll be, and of course, it's collapsible. In fact, what we're doing is we've picked up a number of the military U.S. aviation surgical tables, which will slide right on board, lock right into place, can be moved out as needed, and we can easily replace one with another. As we move a casualty out, we bring another one in for work. And again, the basic rule, keep them breathing, make sure they're not leaking too much of that high-octane fuel they need called, blood, and treat any other injuries to sustain, and maintain, and then ship them on down the road. That's what a forward aid station does. So that's one of our projects. And for the guys listening that are over there right now on the west side of Chelsea, actually out there by the game preserve and such. So right now we got a couple of farms that are allies, so they're taking care of business there. What else? Gar, anything else? Please jump in there. Oh, okay, very good. Hold for
that was on the side. I'm making dinner right now.
Oh, that's okay. A couple things, guys. Grab your... Go ahead, caller. Jump in there.
Oh, sorry. This is Mike from Ohio. I was just going to mention, you were talking about the ambulances. Our community just lost our new Life Flight helicopter because the Arkansas-based company is pulling all their helicopters out of Ohio because they said COVID-19 is essentially causing them to lose money. So kind of ironic that a medical crisis is collapsing our medical industry.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, here's the problem like we have in Michigan. A bunch of the junk here is Oklahoma-centered. Guess where they're going? This is in Michigan. Now, the ambulances I just found are over in Ohio, and they're in the same boat because Michigan and Ohio had the same kind of idiocy going on. So the important thing here, guys, we have an opportunity right now because there's a down curve that is if you can scramble the resources together, the weapons, the munitions, the medical support, virtually we can take over an entire element in each category. Manufacturing, right now, tomorrow, we're going to actually move a shop that we're going to get for probably nothing. A complete machine shop. Everything we need to build anything you can imagine. And that's not an exaggeration. But you have to move on these things because there's only going to be this short window. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here. Chinese are coming. Is everybody ready for this? Chinese are coming. The Jewish mob, the Israelis, will help to undercut and destroy these American companies, what few there are, especially in the middle, like the middle-class category, privately owned. The Chinese are going to come in, kick off, and pick up all the rest of what's laying around if we don't get there first. That's coming. In fact, let me point something out. Here's something for all of you. How many of you out there have seen any helicopters in the air? Have you noticed this? In fact, we're really full circle back to like it was decades, not in the 90s. The 90s, late 80s and 90s, man, you could see 10, 15 helicopters, black helicopters, which don't exist. Well, yes, they do. But you would see a combination. You'd have air flights, you'd have private, you'd have whatever. Guys, have you noticed how helicopters have disappeared from the sky? Especially small, what we call retail helicopters. What do we mean by that? Well, OH-58 size, 4 or 5, 6 place, what would be basically executive or transporter, sightseeing type choppers, that kind of thing. Middle grade helicopters like the Hueys or the, for instance, how about the Black Hawk? Where'd the Black Hawks all go? Have you noticed this? Where'd all the Black Hawk helicopters go? It's just like they're all gone. Now, I know what's going on. If you actually looked at the Air Force, aviation, and you know what's happened with the Blackhawks, there was a little scandal here about, 8 years ago, where it turns out that some DOD Jewish mafia type, who was actually a dual citizenship Israeli and American, but that means he wasn't American, that means he was an Israeli, he had a bunch of fingers in the pie with the supply system for the Department of Defense. And it turns out that what he did is he had a bunch of subcontractors from China and other places, and they were building inferior parts that were supposedly spec'd to aviation and military standard. And then they had a few birds fall out of the sky. And then they did an autopsy of the parts of the plane wreck helicopter. And then they found out that, well, Blatzenstein and good old Bloomberg and whoever else it was, they all unasked the AO and went over to Israel and hid inside the skirts of the Jewish mob over there, while American air crews were put at risk or were killed over here and over in the Middle East. So just a little heads up there. By the way, they've had some of the airframe problems too. So where have all the helicopters gone? Now, they're going to come out of the woodwork when the time comes. Here's what they've had to do. They've had to husband their air time. What does that mean? They parked them, guys. They parked them because if they don't, this is where they went crazy in the 90s because they were going to go for the big push for the global grab on America, just like they're doing right now. But they have to hold back because back during that period of time, they even admitted they were taking advantage of the Cold War surfeit, the Cold War excesses they had, and they could use them on the population, and they were going to use them for the big push towards globalizing America, taking over the country. Well, they tried. Militia was in place. Everybody explained, well, whatever they have, we can fly, and we also maintained. We turned wrenches on. We had many people. We had more people that were mechanics in civilian sector not doing the mechanic's job than the military had. So when this would have escalated, we'd have taken everything they had, run it ourselves, and we wouldn't have any problem. But no standards would be dropped; they'd be maintained. The biggest thing, you go to combat standards for operations. That's what's going to happen when they employ the rotary wing aircraft this next time around. I mean, they either have the shitty birds like the variable geometry crap like the Osprey, it's a piece of trash. Or, which by the way is also very unsuited for 99% of the areas where it would have to operate. Or you may have noticed, if you watch all this footage, why the hell do we have a wholesale delivery helicopter doing all of the retail small operations work out across these combat zones? And by the way, one of the worst damn helicopters to choose is Chinook. The Chinook is a great, support or, follow-up to controlling and consolidating an air landing zone. That was the original purpose behind, like, the Flying Banana, the Shithook, the Sky Crane, all of those. They were the second wave of big stuff coming in to expand on what was the equivalent to a rotary wing airborne operation. That's an air mobile operation, okay? Remember, there's two sets of wings, airborne. There's another one for air mobile. Little helicopter in the middle. Well, there was a whole science to this, and all of that has fumble screwed to the point where, well, what's happening? Now, I know what's going on, and we actually do. Like I said, they've had to retain and hold back for the big push. When the globalists, when the Washington, D.C. settles up with the Israelis and the Chinese for the big hit against you, when those three parties work together, they're going to have to use what they got. You go to war with what you got. So they understand that they've got to retain and hold back the hours that they have left on the airframes that they have produced. And otherwise, the beat the air and the submission aircraft have a whole lot of problems when it comes to operating. But the Osprey, what a piece of, well, again, it's good that the enemy has it.
Right,
Mark. Keep it that way. Go ahead, caller, jump in there.
Just one thing. After the last mention of the 5 rotary wings, the very next day, we had I would call it a flyby, but it was a come up to the same AO, do 180 and go back the same direction, and they went the same direction that the previous day's 5 did. It was 3 Shithooks.
Yeah, and again,
I don't normally see around here.
Yeah, and the Chinooks, I'm going to tell you guys, they're the easiest of all to take down. This is what gets me about this. In a real threat environment with an actual, A versus B military situation, once you damage one rotor box or the other, all that is a flying kinetic energy machine. The rotors, pay attention, look at the design of the Chinook and ask yourself, how does that stay in the air? Now, what you do is you have a policy of engagement if you're trying to take that aircraft down. What do you mean by that? Well, whenever you're taught how to do air defense, you're taught to lead by half a football field with rotary wing aircraft on an average. But here's the thing. Our optics have improved. Laser sighting has improved. So if you're within what is considered to be engagement range, and it looks like they're planning on killing you anyway, you dump everything into one quadrant of the aircraft, front rotor or back rotor, take your pick. It doesn't make any difference, but everybody all on same fires, okay? Boom, 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 boom. The idea is you take a chunk out of whatever's in the front or the rear, and if you haven't seen what happens when a Chinook goes bad, go to YouTube, punch in Chinook helicopter crashes, and then you'll see what Uncle Mark is talking about. Regular rotary wing aircraft, when you lose that rear pusher stabilizer, that's what it is to the rear. It's pushing thrust, creating thrust to center the attitude of the aircraft. Okay, when you lose that, you can still come down pretty reasonably as long as the pilot has any kind of experience, and you try to get down into the ground as quick as you can. However, with a Chinook, whatever is still running turns the aircraft into literally a kinetic energy self-destruct machine. That's why it was primarily used traditionally as a wholesale delivery system. Hell yeah, you can move 54 men, combat loaded and mounted up. If you have them standing butt to cheek, butt cheek to butt cheek, and crotch to bunghole, You can put 54 men inside a shit hook and get them to where they're going, drop them, and run them out. Problem, if you lose it, you lose 54 men. In other words, it's not like one aircraft takes a hit, but the rest of the team gets in. When you go with that aircraft as a primary to come into an area, everybody becomes prioritized air defense. Any of these types of grossly oversized aircraft, all fires on air, and that's what you would do. And you know what?
You lose 50 men, Mark. You lose 50 men or most of SEAL Team 6.
Right. It can be any number of other pieces of critical equipment, which, by the way, remember, this is also a frontline / supposed to be an assault unit, which gets me. It's like, okay, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but again, that's your tax dollars at work and us getting ripped off. Now, I will say this, these Chinooks back, and I brought this story up many times, back in the 90s, actually the late 80s, there was a major shift in the safety protocols for our aircraft design. Again, the old kosher mafia getting involved there. And what happened is, in the process, they simplified the aircraft by taking out all the backups. Traditionally, the air crewmen that were in the rear, they could monitor aircraft flight damage in flight, and they could switch out to alternate hydraulic lines. They actually had triple backups. Well, to make it cheaper, in other words, here's the advertisement they had for the Chinook. Now you can buy 5 Chinooks for the price of 3. You can buy 5 Chinooks for the price of 3. Well, how did they do that? Well, you see all that extra plumbing that made the aircraft very, very reliable and safe? They got rid of it all. So, what happens when it does have a problem? Well, it goes down. No, what do they do about it? It goes down. All those what would we say, paranoid backups? No, original intent by the aerospace engineer who designed it to keep the aircraft flying and to keep the crew alive, because the crew is more valuable really than the aircraft. Well, the idea was to make it more survivable. But what they did is the bean counters, as we've told you many times, cut out all of what made sense. And why? They could buy a few more, and that way, well, if we lose an air crew, what the hell? We got more men. May not be as well trained, but what the hell? So just a little heads up. In fact, that was a big ad in the aviation magazines about, the big pump up was the Chinook. You can now buy 5 Chinooks for the price of 3. 5 for the price of 3. Big savings, 5 for the price of 3. Are you getting the same plane? Well, it's kind of the same plane. What? What did you say? But it's kind of the same plane. Why are you mumbling? Well, it's kind of the same plane. Oh, well, what does kind of mean? Well, we could look at the specs later, but you want to buy them now. Don't worry about it till later, after you bought them. See how that works, guys? Anyway, it is 5:43. Want to get one more thing here real quick. Couple things I got a chance to check out, and I do like them. I'm going to have to play with them a little bit. Over at Sportsman's Guide, 3 items I've mentioned in the last couple of weeks. They still have them in inventory. I'm probably going to regret doing this. They do have them in stock. Number 1, Dutch military surplus cotton crew socks. I have a bundle in my hand. They are manufactured in 1997. They are virtually new. They are either, again, Dutch-made with probably American cotton, although it could be African cotton, too. But very high quality, very, very excellent sock. And again, for winter use, what I would do, you put a pair of these on, then you put the wool sock on, and you've got comfort and wicking and all the other good stuff going on. So these, or just wear them as a regular, again, light-duty sock. These are excellent. They are 12 to a pack, size large only, which is fine because smaller people can fit large, but large can't fit small. Anyway, it's large only. Dutch military surplus cotton crew socks, 12-pack for $10.79 a bundle. I got a couple bundles. I am going to order more immediately. Okay, they are beautiful. They're brand new, unissued as I expected, but they are very, very high quality and typical. The Dutch mimic anything and everything American. They are literally like an extension of the American military in terms of their contracts. although they make their own. Now, here's the interesting thing. Remember, Holland had a lot of Pacific colonies, so they have a lot of Pacific manufacturing connections. It's possible these were made in the Pacific, in the Western Pacific, and there's a couple countries, Micronesia, Indonesia, the Philippines, who had and still have to a degree looms and production capability. But if that is the case, and I don't have an indication of that here, it wouldn't bother me at all. These are very, 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 very nice product for what you're paying. Oh, and now I can slap myself on the microphone because one of them flipped over, and I'll go one. Ooh. Excellent. Anyway, made in Portugal. Slap mark in the microphone. Probably made with, again, American and or African cotton. Made in Portugal, 1997 for the Dutch military. Made in Portugal, a NATO contract then. Made in Portugal. There. I even got that answered while I was doing it because I had moved the package around. Found one little label. Actually, it's on the back of the cardboard connector that holds the two pairs of socks together. So, again, that is Dutch military surplus cotton crew socks. 12 to a pack, new. $10.79. Grab them while you can, and more socks are better. How many socks did you have? Kind of like canteens, many as you weren't willing to carry. Socks can be mittens, socks can be gloves, you can put holes in it for your little fingers, but at least to cover your hind end so you've got something over your hide. You roll them back over the back of your palms where you've got the extension, or you roll them up your arms because you probably didn't get enough cold weather gear dragged along with you, or any, depending on the situation. So anyway, that's one. Number two, U.S. military surplus Coyote Brown padded Molly optics case. I just ordered another batch for the M14 package I'm putting together, which, by the way, these are, now listen to what this says, U.S. military surplus Coyote padded Molly optics case. Well, Mark, that doesn't sound like a mag pouch. Nope, doesn't sound like a mag pouch at all, and that's kind of cool, because what that means is nobody's looking at them as mag pouches. However, if you have a PTR 91, if you have an FN FAL, or if you have an M14, the two 20-round slab mags will fit flawlessly in this extra padded case with a divider in the middle, so your mags aren't going to clunk. And these are with a snap clip top, not Velcro. Okay, you'll go take a look at them. You'll see what I'm talking about. But here's what's interesting: the first ones I got were like in very good to excellent condition, and they were used. One of them is more heavily used. I would keep those for myself, and anybody else who'd wanted something, they could have had one of the other ones, but I wanted these all for myself. So I bought 3 more. Now, these are 3 for $18. They're the Buyers Club price of $18 or $20 if you're not a member. Become a member. It's worth it over Sportsman's Guide. You get the money back in a few orders. However, these are M14 PTR 91 / FNFAL slab mag pouches for all practical purposes, but instead of being $20 a piece, which is what M14 mag pouches run, if they're Molly, these are 3 for $17.99, and I just ordered another batch, and guys, these are brand new in the box, unissued, still in the wrapper. I hate to even open the box up because I put these on the shelf for storage, but I need them. So I'm going to order some more right away because these are brand new, unissued, in the box, individually boxed, individually bagged. This is the way the stuff normally comes when it's in the supply system. And it's in the original box. 3 of these pouches for $17.99. That's $18, which means $6 a piece. You're buying a brand new mag pouch. It's the title for it, though, is U.S. Military Surplus Coyote Padded Molly Optics Case. 3-pack of 3. Now it says used. They're not. The ones that are coming in at the same price are new. The ones I just got. Maybe you'll get used. Maybe you'll get new. Roll the dice. Either way, they're worth picking up. I'm using the original ones that I picked up to set up the Molly rig, one of the Air Force Molly rigs. I'm going to add the rest of these to that. And they are in Coyote Brown. The Air Force rig is in the Air Force Tiger Stripe Digital. But I don't care. I like the system. I want to experiment with it, see how it works. But I do like these pouches. They fit perfectly, but they'll also easily handle the PTR 91 mags. The PTR 91 is the bulkiest of the 3 with a few extra overledges with the way that the mags are built. and they will slide right into these pouches. They're easy to access. You've got a good adjustable lid on them to cover them up, keep them clean. But most important is that because it's an optics pouch, it has lots more padding around the outside. So these are an excellent price for what these are. And the latest ones I just got, as long as they keep coming in like this, they're a steal. They literally are a steal. Now, that's number 2. Last but not least is something kind of unique. Hey, Bancho, if you want to look like a real cool, like, pistolero bandito, they have a really cool item. I wanted to get one because I wanted to see it. I was going to modify it if need be. I'm probably going to experiment with the way it is. Romanian military surplus 10-pocket bandolier suspender system. This is, actually, here's how they list it. Romanian military surplus 10-pocket bandolier, used. But when I got in, it's not used. It's just from sitting on the shelf, and they've all got somewhere, in one form or another. But what these are, it's a suspender system with a single strap in the middle that goes to the middle of your back, to your belt, whatever belt you're using. It has a 5-bundle magazine pouch on the left side that is parallel, perpendicular to the strap. So it runs parallel to the center of your body. And again, each one has an individual stud flap. It's a leather or leatherette type material. The one that I have here, obviously, it's been in storage for a long time. Otherwise, though, everything's serviceable. Okay, I'm ready to go. But there are 2 of these, one on each suspender on the front. For you guys that have stacked magazine pistols of any kind, this is a bandito package. Only instead of like the pistola, like bullets in the little loops, we're talking like 10, you've got 10 mag pouches for 1 stacked mag each for like a Browning High Power, Smith, your Glocks, whatever you're carrying. And for standard mags, it should work with standard mags, standard staggered magazines. Probably, I haven't had a chance to test it yet, these might also work with a couple of Tokarev mags. The 8-round Tokarev mags. Now, I don't know what this was intended for because this thing is so small, unless this is some kind of grenade, which I guess it might be for one of the earlier, like, research or baseline Eastern Bloc grenade launchers, not for the shoulder fire, but for the auto launchers, could be, at least the larger crew cert version. The pouches aren't that big, and I've got one sitting right next to me right now. Like I said, I'm fascinated by it to the point where I'm probably going to get a couple more. But what I would set this up for, if you guys are talking about carrying a Glock, or in this day and age right now, you're going somewhere and you're going to get involved in things. Having a lot of spare pistol mags would really be great, and this could be hooked up over top of, whatever system you have. But by itself, to wear under a coat, this would be really cool. Now, if you're doing the hip holster or then the small of the back holster, this is the way to carry 10 more mags, because realistically, you have to have mag pouches no matter what you do. It's going to be on the belt line. It's going to be, somewhere in pockets, or in this case, it's basically like a bra. Only across between that, and if you've seen any of the German airborne configurations for cartridge belts, where they had the around the neck and buckled to the front of the gear, this is something I wanted to build, but I don't have to because they did for me. It is Romanian surplus. They are OD green. It has brown leather, canvas strapping, little small leatherette keepers for a couple little shoulder pads that are just basically to spread out the weight. And it's interesting. So if you want to check that out, it's Romanian military surplus 10-pocket bandolier, used, $13.49 a piece. But it is an interesting item if you wanted to set up a little, like, utility bat belt rig and you wanted more mag pouches. And again, what you do is you load this up, clean everything up, adjust everything so you have your little, like, bat belt that you go around your waist. You could carry other mag pouches or whatever there, but you've got 10 additional mags. And I like this idea. It's actually pretty cool, because if you wear the right jacket, you're not going to see these, because you have the little way you have them set up. The straps will go right around left and right of your chest and will be out of sight. They'll bulge a little bit, but they're snug and close to the body, and who cares? Everybody's got an idea you're probably armed anyway, and what it does do is give you more places to carry more mags. So if you're wanting to experiment with something, this would be an interesting item to experiment with. Again, what I was also thinking is, depending how they were hooked up to the strapping and everything, I mean, they are leather. These are really high quality when they were built. I mean, Eastern Bloc. But I was even thinking that, well, if need be, slide them off the straps, depending on how they were set up, and actually come up with another system to hook them up to some other rig, or make like a little pistol bandolier. But that's really what they are, except that they're designed to be worn as a tactical gear item. So just check it out. You'll get an image. It's the one that's in the image actually kind of beat up more than any that so far we've seen. And I will probably order another one of these too for the purpose of supporting like a Glock 40 cal or something, or 9. So I've always told you, buy more mags and then buy more mags, and always carry lots and lots and lots of mags. Unlike Hollywood, where you have one magazine and you shoot forever, it doesn't work that way. You will shoot until you run out after those, 11, 13, 15, 16 rounds, whatever you got in the weapon, or 30-rounder. After that, you got to change mags. This is where you carry them. This is one of the ways you can do it. So we're going to have to experiment. I'm going to find out what mags fit best in these two, by the way. I'm also going to figure out what it was originally intended for, because it is rather fascinating. The size is such that it's like, what in the hell would those fit? That's how you look at it. So it's an interesting item. Romania was kind of obscure during the Cold War. Everybody knew that Ceausescu was there, and being the butcher that he was. But otherwise, Romania wasn't focused on real heavy, so while there is a history of their gear and equipment, you kind of got to dig for it. It's not one of the more, popular like Poland, the Czechoslovakian, combination, or the regular Russian equipment. So anyway, all these three are at Sportsman's Guide. Romanian military surplus, 10-pocket bandolier used, $13.49, canvas with leather. Dutch military surplus cotton crew socks, again, made in Portugal. I just turned it around, saw some little fine print while we were talking here on the air. Now I got an idea. And $10.79 for 12 pairs of socks. You can't beat that. And they're not China sport. U.S. military surplus Coyote Brown padded Molly optics case. 3 for $18, and those are M14, G3, or FAL mag pouches, guys. That's what I'm using it for. Anyway, we're going to go to a break here. We may still have a report in the early stage here, the jump-off with Chelsea. And for you guys that are over there with Michigan Militia at large, stay cool. Make sure you hydrate. It's warm outside. It's classic Michigan weather. God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the march. It's Thursday, and we'll be right back in a few minutes.
Plant the seed in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys. Water down its roots with tea. And the sun will always shine on the old Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys. We were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free, home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear, be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you. God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Cornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and central. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com. We're also on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultra-Net Hallmark and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, which includes the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, the territories, and the clock. Somewhere it's midnight, somewhere it's midday. Right now it is 6:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Thursday. It is the 2nd of June, or forgive me, 2nd of July. Oh, it'd be nice for the 2nd of June. We'd get a month back, which, you know, it wouldn't be a big deal either way, I guess. But it is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. Right now. There we go. 2020, old Earth calendar, 2020, year of conflict, year of betrayal. Yes, I know. And for everybody out there, again, it is Thursday. It's a hot summer day, 80-some degrees, depending on where you are, 85, 89, headed towards the 90s. Humidity is up quite a bit. And the bottom of the state, we're in the middle of all these big lakes and water. Yes, humidity is going to be up, and do not complain about it. It is Michigan. You know where you're living, and you know what happens every year. People would be pissing and moaning about the winter, and then they piss and moan about the summer rather than embracing and loving both of them. Please, take the time and do that, okay? And so for all of you, again, just dress accordingly. Learn to work with your equipment, especially if you're deploying right now, and hydrate. Pre-hydrate is always your best bet. And we do have a couple of reports, actually, stuff I can't put out on the air, but we got some imagery from Chelsea. And again, for everybody looking for... Well, actually, it doesn't look too exciting, except that's, of course, on the north side, so we don't expect anything to be going on there. Otherwise, I'm not seeing anything that's making me go, wow. For the moment, we should have perhaps a call-in. We'll see what happens. And if any of our listeners are on the ground, I know we've got quite a few people that are there, but they're probably tied up with staying focused on coordinating and operating, you know, accordingly. So everybody, watch each other's back. Make a point of staying in communication. Don't forget your radios, not your cell phones. Cell phones are not critical here. The conventional radio technology is far more critical. The 800 meg is not as reliable. We all know what's going to happen. Okay. Yeah. Some of the images, by the way, yeah, somebody's laughing. It's like, if you do a search right now, somebody just came back to me, Mark, did you do a search for Chelsea? Images for Chelsea, Michigan, Antifa, BLM. Okay.
all the pictures are some other goofy off-the-wall place somewhere else in the country. Typical for Google stirring the pot, okay? Doesn't mean that it's not going to get interesting or we'll see what happens. I would point out that, by the way, where they're talking about setting up the rally right now as we speak, if everything's going as expected, they were going to go from where the rock is down in the park on M52 to the police station is because somebody ran a truck into the police station glass palace a while back. Guys, the whole front end of the police department, what little glass there is boarded up already. So they're pre-boarded because of another incident with something else that had nothing to do with Black Lives Matter, nothing to do with Antifa, which is kind of funny because it means that if they're going to bust anything up, they got to go, I think, over to the other side of the building. But where the front of the police station is and everything, which, by the way, it's no bigger than a bank branch, barely that. It wasn't needed. They actually had 2 locations where the police department was either originally operating out of or could cooperate with out with the Chelsea Yards. But, oh, no, they couldn't do that because the mayor and the council kind of slid in their own little glass palace offices by getting the police station run through or rammed through down everybody's throat. And then they just kind of took over half of the police station with the bureaucracy. So they wanted a glass palace. It's like all the rest of these panty wastes, they always have to have some kind of drivel like this. That's a problem I have with Republicans or Democrats. Doesn't make any difference. And then their payrolls, their salaries keep going up, which, by the way, you don't get to choose that. They just choose for themselves over and over again. And when you try to roll that back, talk about stuck pig squealing. So just a heads up on that one. Anyway, for downtown, no, none of the pictures you're seeing have any relevance at all with Dexter, Chelsea, or any of that. It's all BS. And again, they're going to ship stuff in have shipped stuff in if anything has changed. So we'll see what happens. By the way, yes, down there, the picture, okay, this is for Chelsea. There have been no cars burning in Chelsea. Okay, no trucks burning in Chelsea. Take those pictures and throw them right out of your mind. That's irrelevant. Until maybe today. We'll see what happens. Got plenty of time. And again, can't emphasize enough, though, if somebody does start to crowd up on you, you don't have any brakes on your car. Your car is much heavier than me with 2 feet. Better make sure you got your act together and you know how to drive offensively if somebody does decide that they're going to gang rush you and drag you out of the car and maybe try to murder you. Well, you got more than enough of an excuse to say, I don't think I'm sticking around. I'm just going to put you under my wheels and hasta la Winnebago, and don't let the coachman camper itch in the arse while I'm driving through.
All live splatter.
Yeah, all live splatter. Oh, my God. It's like, there's parts everywhere. Well, yeah, mostly because I did wax the car before. They slide right off, and the goo is easy to clean. So remember, always pre-wax, double wax, triple wax. There's some really good technique there, and don't forget you can even put a little extra film over top of the like saran wrap over the window. That's a trick nobody knows. Stretch that saran wrap over the window, and then when the time comes, you just kind of peel off the saran wrap, and the sticky, gooey, coppery-smelling blood, which is caking up real quick in this hot weather, it'll be like brown real fast. The bad part about that on your paint job, which is why you want the wax up there, is because that blood will work just like eggs and pull the paint right off the car. Okay, you all do know that, right? Just a little heads up. Yeah, blood's really bad in hot weather, especially where at first, is liquidy and tacky with all those chemicals and minerals. And then, it starts to contract when it dries, and it does all kinds of damage to your paint job. You don't want that. You want to make sure you're ready for that. Prevent that from happening, just to be safe. And, okay, thank you. Yeah, for the guys that are on the north side, everything's cool for the moment. They might try to. Bad guys could come into the residential area. That's why we've got somebody sitting off a little towards some of our allies' residents. And they can be called on by the main body anytime they need to, so we appreciate that. Anyway, next. And, I had another question while we were talking. I think I repeated myself enough, but I guess I didn't. That happens. The stuff that I was mentioning, the equipment I was mentioning, is over at sportsmansguide.com. 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 And the 3 items, which are, they're actually new items, although one's I think on the clearance list, Romanian military surplus 10-pocket bandolier used. It'd be an interesting project for some of you to adapt. We're going to talk more about it because I'm going to actually put a rig together using this for a pistol, just for a, for if you had a large stack pistol in the standard capacity, not the really super big. I don't think the really, really large, like 18-shot mag, I don't think they'd fit in these. But if you got a regular Glock or, any of the standard pistols with a standard capacity, about 15, 16 rounds, should be no problem with these. And again, I'm going to experiment. We'll find out what fits. These are a canvas and leather. The canvas for 90% of it, leather for the fittings and for the buckle downs onto the belt. Next, and by the way, it's $13.49 for that bandolier combination. You can go find it on Sportsman's Guide and look at it and see if you even think you want to mess with it. That's nice. They have pictures, okay? The next one, which is really, really a good buy. I'm going to buy, I already tagged more of these, and if I get there before you do, I'm going to be happy. Dutch military surplus cotton crew socks, 12 to a pack for $10.79. Less than $1 a pair. The neat thing is I'm going to put these into there's 2 places you're going to go. This batch I just got here are going to go in with the medical scrubs. You need something that's a utility clothing item that everybody can slide on their feet, put on their cover their butt with to get in, for the medical support personnel. Or for casualties, guys. One of the things you got to remember, we're going to be changing out people. They're going to need fresh, and they're going to need to be changed out. And you're going to be dressing them. They're probably not going to be dressing themselves, okay? If you have casualties, they're going to be bedridden. Otherwise, if they're walking wounded, you're back in the fight. Dutch military surplus cotton crew socks, 12-pack, a full dozen for brand new for $10.79. And what they mean by brand new is brand new old inventory. I've got a pouch sitting here with the 2 bundles I bought. And these were made in 1997 by PHM, okay? And they're straightforward, simple military issue. If any of you have ever been in the service, you know how it is with these things. They got a little simple black and white tag on them. Gives you all the info, everything you need. And last, which is for all you M14, FNFAL, PTR 91 HK operators, or if you got the Set-Me rifle, U.S. military surplus Coyote padded Molly optics case, 3-pack for $18, $17.99. U.S. military surplus Coyote padded Molly optics case. Now, they said used, and when I got the first batch, I had everything from excellent to one that I would say would be in very good condition. Those are all on a rig I've built right now. I wanted more, so I ordered more right away because I want to round out this kit. And I got to order them in 3s, so if I have a spare, depending on how I set it up, I'm happy. However, the ones that just came in are brand new in the box, never issued. They are literally in the wrapper, in a cardboard service box. These have never been used. They are not used. They obviously are bought probably from the Department of Defense surplus system, and they are excellent. Now, these are padded on the outside. They have a drip grommet at the bottom for allowing moisture to leave. They are a squeeze clip type connector for the closure with a full flat top with an adjustable strap so you can cinch things down so they aren't rattling around. And internally, they have a divider slip, so if you have 2 HK PTR 91 mags, they will flawlessly fit. And you will have enough room so that you don't have to fight them to get them out. But they are fully covered. This is in Coyote Brown. If you want to do a Coyote rig, you can go. There's all kinds of Coyote Brown junk out there in Mali right now, tons of it. In fact, I got another rig I just put together for an ally, and it was all just the odds and ends stuff that I've been picking up Coyote with, stuff at yard sales and whatever. I might do another one with the M14 in mind specifically with these pouches, doing another batch. I'll probably get a few more. But guys, you're paying for all 3. It's 3 for $18. One of these pouches, if it says M14 or if it says slab 20 round 308 mag pouch, you're looking at $20 a piece. Okay, anybody? All it has to do is say mag pouch because it was a optics case. Most people are thinking, well, it ain't going to be what I want. Well, I always like to experiment. I'd use this anyway for other gear. I might still anyway. Because of the way they're built. There are some can be used for radio communications equipment or anything else you want to. But they do work for a couple of mags and all the FAL, M14, and HK91 all fit. So it is a good choice if you're a 308 operator and you were looking for additional mag pouches or ways to stow more mags. I don't necessarily like the open top because we're out in the weather and because here we're in, Michigan, wet, Michigan cold, and I'm going to be out there for a while. I'm not just visiting the outdoors. We're on the guerrilla warfare side or the unconventional warfare side of the game field, so we don't get to drive back in tonight and go home. You're going to be out there. You're going to stay out there. You want to protect your equipment as best you can. You do maintenance while you're in the field, and you do exceptional maintenance when you get back out of the field. So just a heads up, and that's all at sportsmansguide.com. 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 And anybody, let's see, before we further, now you know what? I haven't done this in a while, but anyway, anybody have any questions, any callers, jump in there, please. Just to be safe, because, I'm going to get into another subject here. Now, going back to Weapons Wednesday in a way, but for everybody out there, I know I had a flurry. I mean, I got spikes from one side, from the alternate side, about availability, and everybody's, well, where can I get? Where can I get? And it's like, well, guys, here's the thing. You have as much time as I do, and we already presented some ideas that are good ideas to deal with, our shortages or needs, but you're just going to have to shop around. I just pointed out some gear, which for the moment's available, but there's no guarantee that stuff will be around next week or even tomorrow. Everybody I've talked to in the industry with surplus and everybody with, especially where they have guns, are buried up to their eyeballs. Sportsman's Guide did take a day or two longer than expected, and I figured that would be the case, and they said the same thing. It's like, yeah, I know the problem is the influx of orders, especially in magazines and weapons components, are through the roof, and it's bogging us down, plus everybody's buying combat gear. Everybody's catching up with where they should have been without having to rush, 6 months ago, a year ago. I mean, everybody's had the same amount of time, the same 24-hour days for how many years now? In fact, for as long as you've been born, since you've been born, as long as you've been alive. So this is the bad part, but also the good part. A lot of people are responding or reacting, and because of that, the stuff is getting out to where it needs to be. We're seeing whole legions built up. I would remind you all that one of our biggest problems with regard to militia units is having a cadre to put together to introduce and bring into the fold new people. And this is where you need a separate team to do that, so that you have a standard class to create SOP, standard operating procedure, for instruction and indoctrination into the unit's standards. And again, you're going to have to be the ones doing that. There ain't nobody else out there but you that's going to get it done. So I would highly recommend that, again, you need to sit down, decide how it is you're going to bring people in. You're going to be short in certain categories. That's expected. Remember, some of this you won't be able to settle until we're able to strip enemy corpses, simply because it's where we expected to be. We warned everybody about this. Ain't nothing that's a surprise for anybody in the Patriot movement that really has, gotten gray hair over this. We've had discussions till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning on the very subjects that we're experiencing now. And again, you're going to have to step up to the plate. You're going to have to come up with solutions, and then you're going to have to apply them. The big thing is establish a standard. You guys are going to have to pick, how it is, I don't care what guru, see, everybody always fights over that garbage. It's like, you know what, there's 300 million people in this country. We have so many people that need to be outfitted, equipped, and trained that, guys, your method, whatever it is in Alabama, is not going to affect me in Michigan at all. Your training in Washington State is not going to affect me at all, not at the tactical level. Hell, we may never see each other for the whole duration of this war. So when you hear all these people with the closed distance of the internet and communications the way they are, they're all like a bunch of, like kangaroo is doing the kangaroo patty-pat fight inside a room where it makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, my idea is greater than your ideas.
It's like, where are you located?
I'm in Virginia.
Oh, cool. What was the other guy?
Well, I'm in California.
Oh, you think you'll ever meet in the middle of this war? What? Well, whatever you're doing in Virginia, keep doing it. Whatever you're doing in California, I could laugh about that because look where California is. But look at the situation. But either way, whatever you're doing in California, keep it up. I know we got a lot of good people there. They're right now just trying to decide whether or not they want to unask the AO and leave. And I understand why. Really, 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 really do. So for all of you that are listening, I mean, if you do stay, don't get into any more of these pissing matches amongst your own people that waste time. Let me give you an example of a really panty-waste version of this. How many people did you see making stupid comments about the couple that stood their ground about, well, they had their fingers on the trigger, and they had bad gun discipline? Of course they did. I even chuckle about that, but I would say, here's the thing. You ever guys, I don't care how many times you've told me you've trained. When the pucker factor goes up to the point where you can't drive a needle up someone's ass with a sledgehammer, okay, people do bizarre things. I have seen all these people yap about how, wow, I'm a professional. You ever seen some of the cluster screws with some of the imagery from Iraq, where you got one guy looking around a corner and there's 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 other guys clustered right on top of him? Okay, totally destroying all of the idea about dispersal and discipline. And they're all professionals, so they're so cool. It's like, yeah, one grenade gets them all. I hope that my enemy keeps acting like that, because trust me, we are multidimensional. We aren't going to put a gun to our hip and spray 30 rounds down range and let them crack, crack, crack over your head. If I had a man standing there and he had that AK like I've seen a million times, first of all, I'd boot him in the ass, tell him, here's how it works. Put the gun to your shoulder, lean into the weapon, aim for the enemy, put it low, crotch or, down towards their feet, and pull the trigger, and go ahead. If you're going to fire 30 rounds, how about you keep it on target? How would you get your act together? You see, that's what they're what they don't want anybody to realize. So, see, everybody does stupid stuff. Okay, given the opportunity, it's the way things work when humans are involved. The biggest thing is to try to avoid tragic mistakes. But to be quite honest, I'm going to point something out. You see that pink shirt leftist that's a Democrat? Well, he justified the excuse for a 30-round magazine, didn't he? You notice how that's one of those flaming leftists who would also tell you all about how you need to have your guns grabbed and he's for Black Lives Matter? You might notice he had an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine, didn't he? Now, I don't care. First of all, when he kept it at hip station, I thought that was rather fascinating, but that is a good rest fire station. And depending on when you were trained and who trained you guys, I'm going to remind you again, at one point, the Army was not teaching everybody beyond their original basic training rifle marksmanship. In the middle of the Vietnam War, we went to hip and mid-kit fire station for the rifle. Anybody remember this? You can find the videos on YouTube. So when you see that guy, understand, looking at his age, although he's not old enough probably to be a Vietnam vet, he might be. And I doubt, though, that he was a Middle War Vietnam vet. So otherwise, he either mimicked somebody or he just did what came natural. Here's what's funny. Years ago, they were teaching the troops that. You think I'm lying? Go to YouTube, punch in Vietnam War, start looking at all the videos, and there's a bunch of these news releases were part of the propaganda on networks, on ABC, NBC, or CBS. And there's this one video, American soldiers have changed, the U.S. military has changed its policy on rifle marksmanship performance. The new training, the great idea, the McNamara idea, was to bring the weapon up to tit level / chest level and kind of sight over words, and you basically are using the index finger, terminator eye and finger technique, and spraying down, hose down that area over there. That was rifle marksmanship. So when everybody yaps about, those guys over in Iraq, they're really stupid, it's like, really? Our U.S. military forces were trained in Vietnam to do exactly that. And other militaries were too. Now, granted, the kid probably that did that over in Iraq, jumping out in the middle of the road, watched a movie. I've told you this a million times. Throw all the garbage out that you've seen in most movies. Of course, the part about operating a 12-gauge shotgun, you all got great conditioning on. Now, the woman who was there, again, both of them looked to be about the same age. She kept her finger on the trigger the whole time, and I guarantee that's why they didn't move forward. Had you played that, we're going to be safe and whatever, they'd have been a lot bolder about stepping forward, because you safety fruits are the reason that they are willing to go as far as they are now. What? Well, sure. The crazy lady, is going, you're not coming any closer. I just remodeled this place. I'm going to shoot your hairy hind end so fast to make your head swim. You shut up and leave. Shut up and leave. Shut up and leave. Pay attention to what you were saying. And by the way, it did turn out that basically they took that place over. When originally they bought the house, it was apparently had been kind of abandoned, too expensive to maintain. They came back into the city. They fixed it up. They've been staying in the city helping black people. Their reward for that is have the same idiot stick, knuckle-dragging, shoe-size IQ black people kick in the fence and come in and want to kill them. But the reason they didn't is because the people looked a little crazy town. And I'm going to tell you, crazy town helps a lot when you're in that situation. Your enemy is loony, too. So do you think that playing it safer and be looking more professional, quick, I got to dump my pink shirt, my pink polo shirt, and grab a tactical or a boogaloo shirt? Actually, it really would be more of a boogaloo shirt the way it is, right? It's pink. Doesn't make any sense. Whereas the boogaloo hulu shirts are, well, gaudy. They don't make sense. But they're exactly the kind of thing you want for the boogaloo team. So look at him as like a mature boogalooist. And with a really heavy leftist attitude. But strangely enough, being a leftist / a Democrat and having an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine. Hey, how does that work? Yeah. So anyway, don't ridicule the people. You know, you can point out, well, man, I wouldn't, I myself, I wouldn't, but it's like, well, you weren't there. Be quite honest, she had her finger on the trigger because she saw what was in their eyes, and she saw the animals the night before when they messed up and burned down, you know, downtown St. Louis. And now you have them in your backyard, and they're frothing at the mouth, and they're all doing they got the shoe-size IQ eyeballs while they're busy flapping their yap in ebonics, you know, ebonified voice, you know, yap going at you, and how they all deserve, and you all need it, and then they threaten they're going to kill your husband, and then they're going to kill you, and then they're going to kill the dog, they're going to burn the place down. Hey, high confidence, you're going to be fighting somebody in a minute, so having your finger on the trigger was really a good place for it to be. Now, don't laugh about the woman holding the gun the way she did either. You know what? At least she had the gun up and ready to go. Most everybody else that I can think of right now that flaps their yap would defecate their spine out their bunghole, and they'd be jumping fences. In fact, they'd be kind of like the whole thing with that. You remember a certain general in the American War for Independence, Gates, when they said, yeah, he's 2 states away and he's still retreating. You know, still is that, you know, him and his staff are riding hard. Well, that'd be a lot of the people that are flapping their yap right now all about how that woman didn't know what she's doing. That woman kept her real estate along with that guy. I'd say they did something right. I want you to think about that. That because they were a little crazy-eyed, or at least, you know, didn't look like they knew what they were doing, it's more likely you're going to get shot by that person. And I've told you a million times, criminals are scared shitless about you people having guns. Cops, they can count on us being buddies. Hell, the cops will smile, laugh. They'll be chuckling with the criminal. But you're the enemy of the cops, and you're the enemy of the chuckleheads that the cops like. Just remember that. We got a caller. Who do we have?
It's Tex-Mex. Yeah, hey, remember what Vladimir Lenin said about one man with a gun can control 100? So, I mean, there's...
Isn't that what we just saw?
Yeah.
Or one woman.
Yes, indeed.
One crazy-eyed woman. She was a crazy-eyed white woman. Yeah, you got to worry about that. Don't worry about the husband. He seemed relatively controlled. Although I'm sure he'd have shot your ass in a heartbeat once it looked like you're going after his wife. But she'd have been the one to put the first bullets down. You do see that, right, guys? She was up front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was up front. You ain't getting my curtains. You ain't messing with my upholstery. You know how much I just paid for this thing to be a real... You ain't messing with the living room. Why don't you get your butts back out on the street? Why don't you get back? Because crazy lady's here. Crazy lady, and she will do you. And she would. And that's the attitude everybody needs to show. Wow! I've told you that before. When the time comes, you have to be a berserker, you have to be a fighter, but you have to be a methodical berserker. You've already decided how you're going to horribly hurt your enemy. That's how you have to be when you're going into battle with this, guys. You got to already decide, that one's dead, how am I going to get to number 3, 4, and 5? Because these first two are going to take up some of my time, and the others are still moving. How can I kill them all? That's how you always, when you're going into battle, we're not going into a tie, and we're not going in to be nice. How can I kill them all? That's all you should be thinking about. And how can I do it best? Where can I make every bullet count, or every machete stroke count, or every battle axe stroke count? And remember,
I'd be
still got to
curious
dance.
to see what their new front gate looks like. and whether or not they got some barbed wire or something set up around the place.
Well, I kind of got a feeling that, yeah, the defensive perimeter has been improved. What do you think? I'd even go so far as to say they probably improved the perimeter lighting so it looks more like, the detention camp or, a fire base, if they're smart. At least right now. And for the foreseeable future, with what they've let everybody turn on in terms of the frothing at the mouth, shoe size IQ, knuckle dragging, ass hats we have that are these punks that have no purpose whatsoever in life that they're letting get away with this, they're nothing going to slow down in the immediate future. They're going to keep thinking they can come through and murder those people as they choose to, which means from this point forward, if they're smart, they're going to be taking the attitude that they're coming back. I don't care who you are. You all better understand, this is not going away. These people have been given way too much lateral motion. They're just now trying to figure out how they can monkey poke you and catch you off guard, so you better be ready to put all of them down. Don't let any of them get away. Don't let them escape. Well, they know who you are. I know who you are right here in front of me. I'm going to kill every last one of you, and that way you won't be coming back to bother me. There isn't going to be any conversation with anyone about who attacked Uncle Mark. You're all going to be dead. You see how that works? There won't be any, we're coming back later. It's like the feds the same way. We've had them all through the back 40 here at different times. The one time when they jumped over the fence, landed on the nail boards that we have in the grass, and the guy jumped back over and the blood trail went back for 35 feet, and no cops came. I mean, we put some bullets down range. No cops came down the road. A black SUV from the north, which is probably what the guy was trying to get back to, came by real slow later on, but everybody's gunned up in the front yard waiting in the shadows, and they just went on by. But nobody showed up, which tells you we know exactly who it was. Now, when things get really serious, they're going to claim that they're going to murder all of us, and we are going to have to promise that we are going to get rid of and kill all of them.
Hey, Mark.
Go ahead, caller. Jump in there.
This is Hal, South Dakota. Can you hear me all right?
You're sounding really clear, like you're right next door right now. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, this is a 4G phone, and it works worse than the 2G phone I had. I got to stand here like a... speaking of barbed wire, I've been doing that for the last week and a half, and it's really humid out here today. That sucked. But have you noticed that new cheap barbed wire that they make, the Chinese crap? It's really evil.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's made out of spring metal. It's really hard to deal with, and it will cut you up even if you're trying to be careful. Now, I've been putting that aside and using the old stuff that's made in America because it's pliable, and this stuff, you got to be careful when you cut it. Make sure it's hooked on something because it'll just spring everywhere. It's just...
Spring right back on you and hook you, too, on top of everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really sharp, and the metal they use is really brittle. It's really springy. When you're out about, take notice of that. It's just rugged stuff. I don't like it. I mean, I like it for my enemy.
Military grade. That's what you bought. It's military grade.
It's just really, the old barbed wire, it'll mess you up too, but it's easy to work with. This stuff is hard to work with. It's just shiny and looks like it's galvanized or chromed almost, and it's a thinner gauge, and it's just it's relatively cheap too, but man, that'll put some damage on about anything. I don't know if a cow would run around about that stuff.
You end up with a lot of extra blems on the leather because it hooks so well that all your hides are grade 2, but I like grade 2 leather. It's got what they call character. That's barbed wire snags and tattoos.
That's right.
Yeah.
It works. But just a heads up there, I mean, when you're out there looking, look at the cheap, newer stuff, and it's pretty sharp. It's pretty rugged, and it'll set up like small Constantine, rolled out like that. So easy. It just naturally wants to go that way.
Well, it probably is military application, and there typically are there's a deployment machine. You've probably seen some of these, depending on which type it is. If it's conventional line wire or if it's razor tape. And certainly you can do it fast with a number of cheap tricks. But originally, the engineers had a man portable unit that you could use. It was like a stretcher. You could either coil it, like you're saying, when it comes off the roll. You can naturally turn it into line wire for the top of a galvanized fence. Curl wire.
Yep.
or you could stretch it out. And one of the advantages of stretching it out, where you have something with that kind of tensile recoil, when you cut it, it's dangerous, and people don't think about that.
Yep, make sure it's hooked on something. That'll get.
Yeah, everybody assumes you just snip that wire and just sit there and stare at you. But if it's under tension and you cut it, that stuff, anybody nearby that's within the arc of that sweep is going to find out that this stuff really works. Yeah.
It's the small rolls that I'm dealing with here, and so it's just like small, but man, the barbs are like more than a half-inch long on them, and they're sharper than heck. But anyway, I didn't want to take up time. I don't try to call in because this phone up where I'm at does not get good reception, period. It's worse than the 2G. The only good thing about it is people can hear me. Yeah, that's the only good thing about it is people can hear me like they want to.
You're the clearest probably recently where you've called in, unless you've been on a ground line. This is the clearest your transmission has come in. So it's really doing well in that respect.
It's a new phone. It's a new cell phone. I forgot what it's called. It's a Wazoo or something like that. That's some kind of goofy name. Anyway, I'll get off here. I got tore up by the humidity and the heat today. There wasn't no shade out there. I did as long as I could.
Drink more water right now. I mean,
yep, you can drink as much. I drank a couple gallons today. I've been out in this stuff enough. I know when my limits. I just got to get out there and get some shade and find something else to do.
Very good.
But
appreciate that.
But know when you're getting to that level and you gotta run for cover. Wet towels and stuff help too.
Yeah.
And again, I learned that stuff from my dad. He was old.
Before you get out there and start drinking the water, you know what? If you're putting fence in, I guarantee nobody's staring at you while you pee out there in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean?
You can hire.
The cows are curious, but you don't really care, do you?
I don't. They're not out. They're not out where I'm going. They're open. I hurry up and get done so they can get some. But there's, the way the ground rolls here, you could hide small armies all over the place as long as nobody's flying over.
Right, rolls in the terrain. Tank country.
Anyway, it's
tank
about
country.
90-ish out here. There's a little breeze up here where I am at, but where I was, it's just you couldn't feel no breeze because you're down in a hole and no shade. That's hard to do. Hard to wear a long sleeve shirt doing that. Anyway, I'll get off here. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And again, I'm looking at something else temperature-wise. We're actually not far off. I don't know if we broke 90. I didn't really look at the thermometer on the car even today. Should have been paying attention. But again, humidity. Remember, guys, when you get hot, you are going to push minerals and you are going to push fluid. So push it back in. Constantly drink. There's no such thing as taking too much water under these conditions. Just, again, don't wait until you get sick. Prehydrate and then hydrate progressively. Keep adding more. Take those gallon jugs of, empty milk jug, clean it out, fill it full of water, throw some sugar in there if you want, a little bit of salt. Flavor it up with some Kool-Aid. No-name brand is fine. And then drink, and drink some more. Another thing real quick. Yeah, I know about the weapons situation. Let me point something out real quick one more time. There are some 8mm Mausers out there, the Yugos. I love those rifles, but they're $350 a piece right now. When you get to that price for a surplus bolt-action iron sight rifle, unless you have a ton of ammo, which some of us do, some of the guys have pallets of 8mm, and they could probably still buy some more 8mm rifles. Problem, you can buy a brand new Savage or Remington for less than $300, and as I pointed out from the same sources like Classic Firearms or CDNN Investments, you're talking a brand new bolt-action rifle in whatever modern flavor caliber you like. And right now, because the surplus rifles are way up to where they are, it makes more sense to buy a brand new commercial rifle off the shelf as opposed to the surplus guns, okay? Now, unless you can find a deal, or if it's something that's not papered, that's where the balance is. Now, in semi-automatic weapons, because you don't have any select fire weapons you're going to be picking up and choosing, there's not much in the way of a selection of what's left out there, and prices are up and down, as you know. In the ARs, there's some Andersons right now for $600, and plus or minus, you can find maybe something for down around $5. Maybe find something somebody's selling locally for a more reasonable price. Now, the reason I bring this up is because the SKS is for $350. It's a very serviceable rifle. But first, go check to see if you're just buying a gun right now, can you get ammunition? Go look to see what ammo you can buy. If you're serious about a certain gun and you're absolutely going to get it, I don't care what it is right now. The first money you put down is on ammo right now. If they show that they have the ammo in stock, if they're being honest, and that's the tough part, you got to call during the day, and even there, they're pretty busy. But you want to make sure that they have that ammunition in hand, and your money isn't being tied up in limbo-itis, in the wrong place. So the big thing here is check for ammo, find the ammunition you need for the weapon you've selected, then go and pick up the weapon. In this case, like I said, 308, 30-06, 270, 300 Win Mag bolt-action rifles are very reasonably priced. Both CDNN Investments and Classic Firearms have a wide range of bolt guns with a scope in most cases. Some without optics. You still got to spend some money on some optics. But you've got packages that are available right now. They are reasonably priced, and it is a solution. Let me give you an example right here. This is a standard Savage, typical for the TAC guns that they've been running for a long time. Savage Arms 57-264 Axis. The Axis came out a few years ago. A lot of people like the gun. In the XP model, 30-06, 22-inch barrel, 3-to-9 power variable scope, matte black, synthetic for $341.53. Now, if you look right above that, they want $600 for a Czech BRNO K98 Mauser and 8mm. Guess what? I can buy two of these civilian modern rifles in .6 or in other calibers for the price of that one surplus gun. Yes, I know it's collectible. There's a lot of people that do that. It's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for ways to keep my enemy's arse down. I want to shoot them dead. I don't want them to get up again. Okay? So there's a number of options. The Savage rifles are like premium grade now. Remember, there's a couple of the companies out there that are building standard grade weapons, including Remington, which has come out with a new rifle unto itself. Well, here's an example. Savage Arms, Axis and 223, 5.56. Same package, same price, $341. Now, it's not in a super high caliber, heavy caliber, but it is in the standard caliber, and there's going to be lots of government ammo laying around. Government comes out to enforce the gun grab or do what other wicked deeds they plan on doing, it's going to be there. Now, another example, and this is a better price still, with the same package, 6.5 Creedmoor, 22-inch barrel, XP model with a scope, everything's on board the same way, $284. Hell, that's $60 cheaper than the one I just read to you. Now, it's a 6.5 Creedmoor, and my problem with that, as I mentioned, go find the ammo first. If you can find some ammo, you think somebody told you you needed a Creedmoor rifle, there you go. There's your solution. Run with that puppy, whatever it is that in your mind is the cat's meow and the next best thing to sliced white bread. Myself, again, I'd be looking for cheapest right now. Why? Because I've got to still buy that ammo, and you've got if you're limited in budget, let me put it this way: it's like buying a shotgun. Buy the cheaper shotgun because you still got to buy ammo. Buy the cheaper rifle, which you can shop around and find a nice bolt-action package in whatever caliber, but make sure you can get ammo first. You may have to balance it out. You wanted to get that XP, and you wanted that Super Wingding Model 14 with extra super sniper scope, blah, blah, blah on it. Really? Well, if you spend that money, can you buy ammo? Well, no. Okay, here's how it works right now. Do you think we're close? So buy the reasonably priced rifle package and spend as much money right now on ammunition. You need to get to that plateau first. Here's another thing. Guns are for buying, not for selling. So once you've bought that first rifle and you figure, wow, I think this performs pretty well, I don't think I need the other gun. But maybe you do decide you need the other gun. This is America for the time being. Soon it'll be America with a K if they have their way. We're not going to let that go that way. But soon you're not going to be able to get guns anyway. But for as long as you can buy more. So you can buy that other whiz-bang super model, TL14, blah, 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 that you just, your friend said, was just absolutely what you had to have, or you couldn't possibly shoot or fight a war because everything else is obsolete and blah, blah, blah. Oh, shut up. All the rest of the stuff works just fine. It's a matter of, again, if you don't have any goes into, you don't have any goes out to. And ammunition is going to be the issue here for quite some time again, because they're not going to catch up with what they just sold. In fact, government may not let them catch up. This regime is not firearms friendly. This regime is coming after more of the gun owners with a bunch of other junk they've got waiting in the wings right now. As a matter of fact, yes, if you go through, you can find for $100 less. Somebody just mentioned here as an email, or as a, oh, hold on, yeah, as a matter of fact, there are other places, as we mentioned, CDNN Investments, not just classic firearms. If you go to CDNN Investments, they've got a couple of really nice bolt-action packages for under $300. And that means you got more money to spend on the ammunition that goes in them, provided the ammo is available. The balance is this. If you maybe already have a pile of ammo and you just wanted to get another weapon that fits that niche, then go ahead. I mean, guys, you're going to have to do the math on this yourself. I can't nobody's going to micromanage 100 million people out there. It's just not going to happen, or 1 million people. You're going to have to make personal decisions here based on what's available locally or what you can access within a reasonable time frame. Now, if things kick off with, let's say, the Israelis and the U.S. government doing a series of bombings inside the U.S. with their Antifa buddies working together, that's going to give them an excuse to clamp down on the gun purchases and ammunition, period. Well, wait a minute, they used a bomb. Yeah, I know. This is BS they've done before. Remember, once they have an excuse, they're going to go full FEMA police state the rest of the way. So this is the other problem with, dragging your feet or waiting the way some people did, is that there's no guarantee that you're actually going to be able to access what you thought you were going to access once everything, once they hit the switch. Certainly if we get into a ground conflict situation with the government siding with Antifa, or at least doing the police state, since you're the property holder, they'll attack you. It's inevitable that as that escalates, they'll chop everything off. They're going to cut everything off anyway. What you got is what you got. Now, CDNN Investments, I don't see anybody, or CDNN Sports, forgive me, that's a fast way to get there, CDNN Sports. Not going to have a whole lot of specials, okay? There's not going to be a whole lot of markdown anything, but there are a few deals and a few things you should be looking for to see what they do have available out there. And again, if you're looking for bolt-action rifles, each one of these companies have, actually, hold on here. Well, that's interesting. Each of these companies have different inventories, and also remember, they have been selling a lot of stuff. So with that being the case, then you're going to have to be very careful about what you're doing when you're pouring over these too, because a lot of times the stuff may be listed, but it isn't necessarily really there, okay? Here we go. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's real quick. Remington, 770, 30-06. Same package as the other one we were talking about, 3 to 9, but this is a Remington, 770, $250, and they still have them in stock. I'm looking at them right now. Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys help out a lot. For what you're talking for, they have them in 243, an excellent caliber. 270, excellent caliber, 300 Win, kick butt caliber, $250 per rifle. That is a stock, scoped, ready to go gun. In fact, they claim that out of the box it's been laser bore sighted, and these things are pretty well on the mark. You line your eye up with it, you try to cut a piece of paper, it'll do exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, these are the Remington 770. They have both the youth rifle. The youth rifle in 243 is actually a nice little package, even for you adults. Everybody understand that? If you're looking for a stash gun, a little smaller all the way around is kind of nice, but still the same basic performance as every one of these other guns we're talking about. And it's a Remington 770 youth for $250.
An excellent woman's rifle.
Yeah, ladies' rifle, but also, again, it'll come up your shoulder just fine. It'll work the way it's supposed to. And they do have the Thompson centers for about $270, $280, right around there. In fact, some have crept up in price since we mentioned them on the air the other day. Probably moved a few. And those are excellent firearms. There's nothing here I wouldn't put to my shoulder. The biggest issue is how much money do you have? budget. Okay, budget is the big thing. Do you still need to pick up other items? Are you still short certain things? Okay, something to think about there. As a matter of fact, another one I missed, Thompson Center dual barrel package systems, 204 Ruger and 270 Winchester, and a left-handed gun on top of that. No way. That's why they're still around. Well, if you're a lefty, they got a couple of really good packages over at CDNN Sports. You might want to check them out, see what they have there. And, again, go slowly through the scroll and see what it is that floats your boat and fits your needs. Next, on handguns. Problem. Some of the states are going back to communism, Corona Beer Virus 101. I've had a lot of people complaining, what's wrong with Arizona? Well, go look at what's happening with the politics in Arizona. They've shut everything down again. They're saying, oh, it's only going to be for a week. That's a lie. Okay, we know that. It's just like, oh, it's only going to be a week, then 2 weeks, then 3 months. Oh, wow, that really went south real fast, didn't it? So they're lying. They're obviously going to try and frag the economy the rest of the way. Everybody should be ignoring the regime, the government, and just getting on with business. If you want to save your company or you want to save your jobs, you better ignore the government, and if they come down and get in your face, shoot their ass. That's just where we are. Same cops that didn't do anything with Antifa and whatever else around are real great about attacking you. So as far as I'm concerned, piss on the whole bunch of them. Both sides are working for the same scammers across the board. Again, I'm going to answer something else there, too. Everybody keeps asking 22s. The big thing with 22 is not the idea that 22s, you can find some cheap. There's some single-action revolvers that'll work just fine for a lot of your utility work, and at least to give you a hand cannon of some kind. The problem, again, is ammunition. So what you want to do is look to see what can you find in the way of ammo, and if you can find a pile of 22, how much can you afford? Whatever you can afford that balances out for the difference in your budget against the gun you want, well, that's really should be determining what gun you get. Because if you don't have a large stockpile of ammunition, you need to start accumulating. Or get what you can. Like I said, you won't even be able to accumulate much, but at least you're not going to be, firing 6 rounds and then copying the movies and throwing the handgun you should have kept in your holster. That kind of stupid garbage. But we're going to avoid that. We're going to make sure you don't do that. Okay, don't throw your handgun. Keep your handgun back in your holster, or for that matter, just point it at the enemy. They don't know your gun's empty. What do they have, telepathy? I wanted to point that out. Why would you throw your gun away or throw your gun at somebody? Do they know the gun's empty? No, they don't. And if you point it at somebody like you're earnest, they're not going to question whether or not you're going to hear a boom in a minute. They're going to get the hell out of the line of fire. There's something to think about there. Stuff that the movies intentionally do to brain screw you and they laugh at your ass later when the time comes. We're almost to the top here, and again, for all of you that are listening, appreciate it. We got in fact, I want to say hi to Janet and Andy, and also, hold on here, who else is there? Amanda. Okay, that's Jackson. Okay, anyway, for the guys that are over there in Chelsea, I want to say hi to everybody. And for on the north side, because you guys are patiently, broiling in the heat, we'll see what we can do to bring up a sit rep here. Meanwhile, we're going to go to break in a few minutes here. Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Guys, if you're having a problem or you're getting bumped on whatever system you're using, Ed has established other connects. We do have a YouTube feed. Experiment anyway. Try them now. Don't wait till the last minute to get bumped. Experiment and see if it works with the system that you're using to listen in. That would be a very good idea. God bless our republic. Death of the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the march. We're going to take off for an hour. With Ed taking over, we'll be back for the evening intel report at 8 o'clock. God bless. Bye-bye.
Plant the seed in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree. the tea, and the sun will always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper boys beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys, always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys, fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need: gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com